The percentage of American children affected by obesity has more than tripled since the 70s. Wrap your head around that. Tripled in essentially the last 3+ decades. But while kids' waistlines are certainly growing, their brains might be shrinking. A new study of almost 3,200 kids' brains revealed that obese children tended to have a thinner prefrontal cortex. That's essential for behavior. It's essential for important decision making. And I'm not actually that surprised by this because research even into adults has linked obesity with low levels of inflammation. We know that when you have inflammation, it can decrease blood flow, it can increase your risk for heart disease, and brain health is tied to all of these other things. And so I'm not surprised by this, but I think it should be a wake-up call because if the obesity rate is tripled amongst young kids, we may start to normalize that. But when you start to think about it in terms of a kid's developing brain, the most important time in life for brain development is these years of, let's just say you're 10, 11, 12, 13. That's when all the good stuff's happening in the brain.
And why is that happening? Well, it's diet. It's too much fast food in the diet, too much a sedentary lifestyle, too much time spent in front of the TV, the tablet, on the iPhone, gaming, all those things. I mean, that's what's contributing to it.
And obesity, it's such an important issue for everybody. And I think as a parent, you just have to remember that children really they learn by example. So they're going to look at what you're doing. You can't say, eat all your vegetables you can't tell your child to eat all their vegetables while you're eating potato chips.
I certainly believe in self-determination, but I also think we are living at the best possible time to make healthy choices, but also the most difficult time. And if you think about, you look back, what happened in the 70s, okay.
I can't remember. No, I can remember.
I wish you had a Fitbit because your Fitbit would remember. But I think this is important. If you think back to what happened in the 70s, 80s, into the 90s, we went from eating, for the most part, real food, and at that point in time, food scientists developed all these wonderful mechanisms to get us addicted to really unhealthy things that were so tasty, had these very long shelf lives, and we went from real food to overly processed food. We went from real food to what we're about to talk about just a little bit, really, really, really high sugar foods. And kids' brains, speaking of brains, once you taste some of these highly processed foods, they become so addictive so quickly. So as a families, I mean, adult obesity is through the roof as well. We need to also, in the back of our minds, remember that these mechanisms that are in place to trick our brains into needing these highly processed foods, basically food scientists are tricking us because in the past, when food was scarce, if something tasted good, your primitive brain tells you to hoard it. So this is human, it's human nature to overeat these highly processed foods. Whereas it's human nature, if you give me a huge bowl and it's full of fresh fruit and vegetables and even has some nice like avocados, arugula, hummus, all these real natural wholesome foods, it's really hard to overeat.
Yep.
Because you may eat and fill yourself up, but at the end of the day, those are nutrient-dense foods, not calorie-dense.
And this is scary. We highlight these people that have lived into their hundreds. What have they had in common?
Real food.
That's exactly right. And most of them had in common small portions and more of a Mediterranean type diet.
And they didn't have to use fitness tracking devices. Again, I'm not saying that they're wrong,
even know
but
what they are.
They were active, they gardened, they were social in a healthy way.
Well,
so anyway, this is all about setting the right example.
Brains, I mean, their health in general, due to obesity, is suffering. It's decreasing their lifespan, increasing the risk for all sorts of other health problems as well.
And so as we end this segment, I mentioned that we have never lived at a better time because what is great in reaction to all of these really highly processed, I'll call them unhealthy foods, there is now an advent of focus on healthier foods being more easily accessible and available. And as they become ever more accessible, ultimately, it comes down to having the choice. And just remember when, as a parent, you're setting an example for your kid, it's not just their waistline you're worried about, it's their brain development as well.